What's up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the numbers. These are my full card breakdown and predictions for UFC Vegas 21. We have the return of Leon Edwards going against someone very hungry, somebody that's been on an absolute roll, and Belal Muhammad, somebody that's been very active. So really curious to see what Leon Edwards looks like off of this decent-sized layoff, and it should be a very fun main event along with a great co-main event to go along with it. We have Misha Cirkunov versus Ryan Spann, and what should be a very fun fight for as long as it lasts. I really don't expect it to last long, but it should be a fun fight. We should get a finish there, more than likely probably in the first round as well. And then just some fun fights scattered throughout the card. I think that Ige Tucker is going to be fun. I think Manel Kopp, Mateus Nicolau is going to be fun. Other than that, Jourdain Rojo is going to be very fun as well. Some good fights on this card. Looking forward to it, as always. Looking forward to making some money. But yeah, coming off of a very good card last week. The prelims were fantastic. The early prelims were great. The main card was a little bit iffy, some controversy as well, especially with that Jan and that Sterling fight. I mean, crazy. Hopefully they run it back as soon as possible. Amanda Nunes did what she was supposed to do, go out there and finish Anderson in less than 2 minutes. And then, of course, Jan Blachowicz pulling off the upset against Israel Adesanya. So overall, the card last week was fantastic. This card, I think, could be a little bit underrated. I see a ton of great fights, so really looking forward to it. I do have some bets on this card already. Pretty decent betting card, I'd say. A lot of big favorites as well. Maybe a good week for some parlays also. So before we get into it, as always, if you can leave a like, subscribe if you have not yet, would really appreciate that. Asked for 500 likes last week, and we destroyed the 500 like mark. So thank you guys so much for that. And then, of course, got 10K subs last week. So again, thank you guys for that. Could not have done that without you guys, and just really do appreciate it. So before we get started into the video, I do want to give a shout out to David Hunt. I did that contest with significant strikes for Adesanya Blachowicz. He guessed 183, and it was 185, so 2 away, and there were actually 4 other guys that tied with him that were 4 away as well, but he was the first one to comment, so he gets the win. So David, comment down your Cashapp or PayPal, and you win. So congrats to you, and I'm going to be doing more contests later in the month. I think the Stipe and Ngannou card is going to be the very next pay-per-view, so can't wait for that. But with all that out of the way, let's get into the first fight of the night, which should be a very good one. And we have Jason Witt versus Matt Semelsberger. And Jason Witt, he is 34 years old, going to be older by 6 years, 5'10", 70-inch reach, 18-6, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Matt Semelsberger is 28 years old, 6'1", 75-inch reach, 7-2, and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. So yeah, I mean, taking a look at the odds, kind of interesting here. Semelsberger opened up -170, currently -120. Jason Witt opened up +140, currently +100. So the money is coming in on Witt, as I expected, but I kind of thought this line would completely flip. It hasn't really got to that point now. It kind of stalled out a little bit, so I do expect Witt to be the favorite by fight time. I mean, just after everybody gets into the tape, I thought that a lot of love would be on the Witt side, but I see a lot of Semelsberger love, and I get it, I guess. I mean, Witt's making his 3rd appearance in the UFC here. And his first fight came in on like a couple days short notice against Takashi Sato. Went in there, got knocked out. His next fight, not everybody, but a lot of people were counting him out against Cole Williams because of that chin. Jason Witt closed at like -120. I got him at -120. I did bet him in that fight, and he looked like -300 in that fight, -350. Went out there, absolutely dominated Cole Williams. And I like this Witt guy. I mean, I like his style. He's 34 years old, though, so he is getting up there in age, but he has a very good stylistic matchup, I believe, here against Matt Semelsberger. The problem with Witt, though, is his chin. I mean, the dude gets rocked in about every fight. The guy has no chin. He's been knocked out 3 times in his 6 losses. He's been submitted 3 times in his 6 losses. So Jason Witt's never lost by decision. So I definitely get some of the Semelsberger love, but I mean, just going back and watching the Semelsberger tape, I mean, this dude's getting taken down very, very easily, like multiple times by very low-level guys. So I do think that Witt, training at a very good camp, Glory MMA and Fitness with James Krause, we saw Tim Elliott come out in his last fight, implement a very good game plan, dominate that fight. I kind of see the same thing here. Witt coming out here getting takedowns, but if Witt loses, it's going to be by knockout. So what I did in his last fight against Cole Williams, I bet Witt and I bet the under. It just so happened that both of those hit because he was able to submit Cole Williams in the second round there. I think I'm going to do the same thing here. I think I'm going to bet Jason Witt because I think he has a glaring path to victory with the wrestling. I think he's the much better wrestler. I do think he gets us down on the mat. I think he's a very good grappler as well. I want to say he's like a brown belt. And I do think he taps out Semelsberger, but at the same time, if Semelsberger wins, the guy has power, the guy has knockout power. He's finished 57% of his wins by knockout. It's probably going to be by KO, so I'm probably going to bet the under along with Witt. because I do think Witt's probably going to submit him in the second round, grind him out a little bit, and then finally get that sub. We've seen Semelsberger subbed before by some low-level competition, and I think Witt's getting a little bit disrespected. I know the guy has no chin, but really, I think he's going to come in here with a game plan of just not messing around on the feet and taking this down to the mat. So I'm going to take Jason Witt. I'm going to take him to win by second round submission, and I think it's a very good matchup for him outside of him, standing and banging and getting knocked out, which he's at a good camp. James Krause, I think they'll come in with a good game plan of taking this guy down and finishing him on the mat. So Jason Witt for me should be a very fun fight for the first fight of the night, and my first official dog. But like I said, I think he's going to be a favorite by the time the fight starts. All right, Gloria DePaulo versus Jinyu Frey. We have DePaulo making her UFC debut. She's 25 years old. She's going to be 5 years younger than Jinyu Frey. She is 5'5", 67.5-inch reach, going to be the bigger fighter. 5'2", 5-2, and 4-1 in her last 5 fights. Jinyu Frey, she is 35 years old, 5'3", 65-inch reach, 9-6, and 2-3 in her last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds. Gloria DePaulo opened at -165. She's currently -185. Jinyu Frey opened at +135. She's currently +160. And yeah, I like DePaulo quite a bit in this fight, and it's more so a fade on Jinyu Frey, but I really do like the stylistic matchup for DePaulo here. So Jinyu Frey is somebody that's extremely low volume. I don't think she's reached 30 significant strikes in both of her UFC fights against Kay Hansen. I want to say she got like 20-something, and then against her last fight against Luma Lukbumi, I wanted to say she got like 20-something, so extremely low volume, landing less than 2 significant strikes per minute per minute there in her fights, and all you really have to do to beat Jinyu Frey is just stuff the takedown, out volume on their feet, and Gloria DePaulo is training at a very good camp, Shootbox, training with Mara Buena Silva, which I believe they're dating as well, which is a pretty good sign because Silva looked pretty solid in her last fight as well, so I do think that DePaulo can stuff the takedown. She's going to be the much bigger fighter. Frey is a natural atom weight, so coming up here at 115 pounds, I do think that's a disadvantage to her big time. And DePaulo is going to be the bigger fighter. She's going to be the more dangerous striker. She's going to be throwing more, going to be throwing harder. I do think that there's potential for her to even put away Jinyu Frey. Jinyu Frey has actually been finished a couple times in her career. She's been knocked out once. She's been submitted once as well. DePaulo doesn't have bad submissions as well. So, yeah, I don't hate DePaulo here. I don't hate the price as well. I mean, it's just more so of a fade on Frey. And I actually think that this is a great matchup for DePaulo as well. So give me Gloria DePaulo. I'm going to say decision, but I wouldn't be surprised if she was able to finish Jinyu Frey there. So give me Gloria DePaulo for the win. All right, interesting fight here. J.J. Aldrich versus Courtney Casey. J.J. Aldrich, she is 20 years old, 5'5", 67-inch reach, 67.5-inch reach, 8-4, and 3-2 in her last 5 fights. Courtney Casey, she is 33 years old, 5'7", 67-inch reach, 9-8, goodness, and 2-3 in her last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds here. Really, you should not be betting on this fight either way. It's not a good idea. But Aldridge is -150. She opened up -130, and Courtney Casey is +130. She opened up +100. So some money is coming in on J.J. Aldrich. I guess I agree with that. I do pick her to win here. I do think she wins, but it's just not something I'd lay my money on ever, really. But in reality, I do think this is going to be close on the feet. Courtney Casey is a little bit on the hittable side. Absorbs 4.31 significant strikes per minute with a 53% striking defense. But I guess the big thing for me is we don't really see J.J. Aldrich go for many takedowns in her fights. I want to say she has like 2 takedowns in her whole career, but Courtney Casey cannot stuff a takedown to save her life. I mean, 37% takedown defense for Casey. So what I was kind of thinking was it's going to be very close on the feet. I do think it's like near 50-50. I'd probably give the slight advantage to Aldrich on the feet, but just Aldrich mixing in those takedowns. I mean, she's got to know that Courtney Casey cannot stuff a takedown, and she has got takedowns in the UFC, Aldrich. So I'm going to say Aldrich gets a very close decision, mixing in the takedowns, getting a few throughout the fight, and just a very close fight, probably 29-28 split decision. It really could go either way, but I'm going to take Aldrich here. I think she's the better fighter just by a little bit, and I do think Courtney Casey's going to go 9-9, which is very impressive, 500 record there. So give me J.J. Aldrich for the win. Don't really care about this fight too much, but I'm going to take Aldrich to win by mixing in the takedowns and getting that decision. But yeah, no action for me ever on this fight. All right, next we have Nasrat Haqparast versus Rafa Garcia, and this is a fight that just recently got added. Haqparast is going to be 25 years old, 5'10", 72-inch reach, 12-3, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Rafa Garcia is 26 years old, 5'7", 68-inch reach, 12-0, obviously 5-0 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds. I believe they're out, and they are. So Haqparast opened at minus 385, currently minus 360. Garcia opened up plus 265, currently plus 300. So, yeah, definitely wide odds here. Didn't expect him to be that wide, but I do kind of see why. I mean, watching the tape, Garcia is somebody that looks like he's a lot smaller than most of his opponents, and it says he's 5'7", but I don't know. I wouldn't be shocked if the dude is like 5'6" or 5'5". I mean, the dude looks very small in there, and I mean, I think Haqparast is going to be the much bigger fighter in this fight. He's going to have a 3-inch height advantage. He's going to have a 4-inch reach advantage, and Garcia is going to come out here and try to get takedowns. But we saw in his last fight, especially, Haqparast's takedown defense is, pretty solid. I mean, he didn't get, I think, got taken down one time in his last fight, but he did stuff a lot of takedowns. I believe it was against, was it Munoz? Yeah, Alex Munoz. He stuffed a bunch of takedowns from him. But yeah, I like Haqparast here. Garcia a little bit wild on the feet, and he does leave a ton of openings as well. And although he's never been knocked out, I'm actually going to say Haqparast catches him here and knocks him out. I think he has the much better hands. I think he's the more technical striker by a decent margin. I do think he stuffs the takedowns. And yeah, Garcia does tend to slow down a little bit in his fights as well, I saw. So give me Haqparast to win. I'm going to say second round knockout. Garcia coming in on short notice as well. I don't think that's a great benefit to him. But, I mean, he has some upside, 12-0, but, man, going to be at a big size disadvantage and a big striking disadvantage, and I don't think it gets him to the mat. So give me Haqparast to win by second round knockout here, but should be a very, very fun fight. All right, Ronnie Yahya versus Ray Rodriguez. Should be an exciting fight here as well. We have Yahya, he is 36 years old, 5'6", 68-inch reach, 26-10-1, and 3-1-1 in his last 5 fights. Ray Rodriguez, he is 33 years old, 5'7", 71-inch reach, 16-7, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Taking a look at the odds here, Ronnie Yahya is minus 280, opened up minus 325, and Ray Rodriguez is plus 240, opened up plus 250. So some money is actually coming in on the Ray Rodriguez side, and I don't know, I was actually looking at possibly fading Ronnie Yahya here. I mean, he's getting up there in age. He's 36 years old. He does slow down as the fight goes on if he does not get that submission, but getting into the tape on Rodriguez, I mean, the dude gets taken down about every single fight. I mean, it's hard to see him stuffing a takedown here from Ronnie Yahya, who does have some decent wrestling. The striking for Rodriguez is decent, but, Yahya, I went back and looked at it. I mean, he's not the worst striker in the world. His striking is actually a lot better than I thought it was. Does come with some power as well, and I just see Ronnie Yahya taking him down one way or another, and Yahya has different ways of getting it to the mat, whether he is, pushing you up against the cage, getting trips, or even pulling guard. I mean, either way, if this fight touches the mat, Yahya is going to have a pretty significant advantage, and, just what did it for me was watching Ray Rodriguez against, I think it was Chris Gutierrez, man, and Ray Rodriguez was getting dominated on the mat by Chris Gutierrez. I know this was a couple years ago, 2 years ago, actually. But just see him get dominated by a striker, a kicker, and Chris Gutierrez on the mat and getting subbed by Chris Gutierrez. I mean, that's just really all I needed to see. His UFC debut went out there, got subbed in like less than a minute against Brian Kelleher. And yeah, Rodriguez, his ground game is decent, but the dude leaves a ton of openings. He has been submitted, two? He's been submitted 2 times. He's been submitted 2 times. But yeah, I got Yahya here. Unless he's like completely on a crazy decline, I just see him getting this fight down to the mat and getting the finish shortly after. It's hard to pick Ray Rodriguez. I get there's paths to victory, but to see him get taken down in like every single fight, it's really hard to go with the guy. So give me Ronnie Yahya, first round submission. But I guess you could say the line's a little bit too wide, but this is really a fight he should win. All right, so this is probably my pick for fight of the night. Charles Jourdain versus Marcellus Rojo. Jourdain is 25 years old, 5'9", 69-inch reach, 10-3 and 2-2. 10-3-1 and 2-2-1 in his last 5 fights. Had that draw in his last fight. Marcelo Rojo, he is 32 years old, 5'8". Don't know his reach. He's 16-6 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. And yeah, this fight's going to be exciting. It's because of the style that Rojo brings. I mean, he's going to go out there and he's going to stand and bang. And so is Charles Jourdain in that fight as well. So it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be an absolute war for as long as it lasts. And I do see a finish on either side, and I'll kind of talk about why. But Charles Jourdain opened up minus 270, currently minus 255. Marcelo Rojo opened up plus 210, currently plus 215. So some money is actually coming in on Rojo just a little bit. And yeah, Charles Jourdain in his last fight really dropped the ball against Josh Kulabau. He closed around like a minus 440 favorite, minus 450. Got a draw with him, but I kind of thought he won that fight. I thought he lost round 1. I thought he won round 2 and round 3, but it was a draw. So, but in that fight, he kind of messed around a little bit too much. I think he did not really take Coulibaly serious, and then Coulibaly clipped him, and that can very well happen here. But Charles Jourdain's been fighting the better competition by a very, very decent margin. And, a lot of people aren't talking about this, but Charles Jourdain is a brown belt in BJJ, and Rojo's shown that he can be submitted before. He's been submitted 4 times as well. So he's been submitted 4 times. I wouldn't be completely shocked if Jourdain was able to get this down to the mat and submit him, but that's just not really something Jourdain looks to do, as he doesn't have a takedown in the UFC. So all in all, I do expect them to stand and bang. Would I be laying like minus 270 or minus 260 on Charles Jourdain here? Probably not, because Rojo is a very dangerous fighter. It's just... I do think, Jourdain's going to be the more experienced, and he does have a good chin as well. I'm going to take Jourdain here. I don't love the price. I'm going to say he wins by submission. I'm going to say he's going to be the 5th person to submit Rojo. I'm going to say he hurts him on the feet and then ends up submitting him on the mat. But yeah, the interesting thing about this one is Jourdain has never won by decision. 100% finish rate for Jourdain. Rojo has an 88% finish rate. And then both guys... Well, Jourdain's never lost by knockout, never lost by submission. Rojo's lost by submission 4 times, never lost by knockout. So, yeah, give me Jourdain here by, I'm going to say, 3rd round submission. Rojo does slow down as the fight goes on, but for as long as this one lasts, this is going to be an absolute war and probably one of the best, if not the most exciting fight on the card here. All right, so Angela Hill versus Ashley Yoder in a fight that we were supposed to see a couple weeks ago. I forget what happened. But I do remember saying, I don't really care that this fight's off the card, so didn't look into it that much, but this fight is back on this card, and we do have Angela Hill, who is 36 years old, 5'3". She does have a 64.5-inch reach, 12-9, and 3-2 in her last 5 fights. Ashley Yoder, she is 33 years old, 5'7", 69.5-inch reach, 8-6, and 3-2 in her last 5 fights. And we'll take a look at the odds here, which are kind of crazy, I guess you could say. If I can find him, Angela Hill opened up as a minus 350 favorite, currently minus 380. Ashley Yoder opened up as a plus 290 underdog, currently plus 315. So yeah, I mean, very wide odds here for Hill, but this is absolutely a fight she should win. I mean, when it comes to the striking stats, it's not even close. Hill averages just nearly 6 significant strikes per minute compared to Yoder's 2.8. Hill has a 49% accuracy compared to Yoder's 41%. And, getting into the grappling stats a little bit, I mean, Yoder does average about a takedown per 15 minutes, 38% accuracy, but Hill is someone that, if this fight was a couple of years ago, I probably would, at these odds, take a shot on Yoder. But, ever since then, Hill's definitely improved her takedown defense. I mean, she stuffed a ton of takedowns from Michelle Waterson. She stuffed a ton of takedowns, not a ton, but a decent amount of takedowns from Claudia Gadelha. And her defensive wrestling, her takedown defense looks fantastic as of late. And if Yoder does not get this fight down to the mat, she's going to get, dominated. And maybe not finished, but, dominated for 3 rounds. So I like Hill here. I think she's the much better striker. I think the striking is really not even close. And if Yoder's not able to get her down, which I don't think she does, I think it's going to be Hill all day. So give me Angela Hill. Give me her by decision. Really a fight she should win. I mean, she's lost her last 2 fights, Angela Hill. I thought she won her last 2 fights, but... they went the other way, but very close fights. Do I expect this one to be as close as the other 2? No, I do think Angela Hill looks probably around the price tag she is at. But would I bet that? Probably not, but I do think she wins by decision here. So Angela Hill by decision for me. All right, so this fight could be the most boring fight on the night. I mean, just 2 guys that I usually look to fade here with Darren Stewart and Eric Anders. And Darren Stewart, he is 30 years old, 6 foot, 74-inch reach, 12-6, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Eric Anders, 33 years old, 6'1", 75-inch reach, 13-5, and 2-3 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds. And we have Darren Stewart as a decent-sized favorite, I guess. Opened up minus 205, currently minus 175. Eric Anders opened up plus 165, currently plus 155. So some money's coming in on the Anders side, and I guess I get it, but I'm just done trusting Eric Anders. It seems like whatever you want this guy to do, he does the absolute opposite. In his last fight against Krzysztof Jotko, just did not look all that great. Was not able to get a takedown. Got outstruck by Jotko. Against Gerald Meerschaert, expected him to go out there and probably knock this guy out, man. I mean, you should have a significant advantage on the feet, and Meerschaert actually outlanded him in that fight. And yes, Eric Anders got the decision, but it was very, very close, way closer than it needed to be against Jared Mearshart, who is a legit grappler. So other than that, he knocked out Vincent Moreira. And then the Khalil Roundtree, this is where I was like, oh, come on, Anders, what are you doing? Like, Roundtree, first of all, he's not the best fighter in the world. We just saw him lost to Marcin Prachnio. But Eric Anders needed to go in there with a takedown-heavy game plan, and the dude got beat from pillar to post. He got knocked down 4 times in that fight, and I just can't trust Eric Anders. And I honestly think that, this guy, he's a young guy. I mean, he's not overly young, but he's 33 years old. I do think he's on the decline. I mean, this guy's getting worse and worse, honestly, every time I see him step into the octagon. It's just really hard to trust the guy. And he doesn't come in there with their best game plans as well. And you got Darren Stewart, who, looked pretty decent in his last fight against Kevin Holland, everybody's favorite fighter. In that fight, it was very, very close. He was able to get on top of Holland, not finish him, but he was able to have some good moments in that fight. And it was a lot closer than, the line indicated. Holland was like a minus 270 favorite in that fight. Before that, got his first submission win against Maki Bitolo. Then, of course, he lost to Bartosz Fabinski. But, yeah, what you need to do to beat Darren Stewart is take this guy down. And this is why I love fading this guy. I'm going to play guys that can take him down. Can Eric Anders take him down? Absolutely, he can. Absolutely. But do I expect him to go out there and implement the game plan that he needs to win? Probably not. I mean, Eric Anders, I don't know if he has the cardio to go out there and for a takedown-heavy game plan. It's just not something he does. We've seen him take down Thiago Santos like 6 times. Other than that, not much of a takedown guy. Lands about 1.3 takedowns per 15 minutes, 34% takedown accuracy. And Stewart does have that 66% takedown defense. So if Eric Anders wants to win, I mean, come out here, get takedowns. But even then, like, Stewart's takedown defense has been improving. And on the feet, it's going to be Stewart for me. Anders might have the more power, but Stewart's just going to be more active by a decent margin. Anders just does not throw anything. So for that reason, I think this fight's going to be very boring. I don't see much happening in this fight. I see this going to decision. Both fighters have never been knocked out. I'm going to take Darren Stewart to win based off of just doing more. Just doing more on the feet, just throwing more. But give me Darren Stewart by decision. Am I going to play the minus 175? Probably not, but I do think he wins. Maybe Darren Stewart by decision. If it's a good price, I might look into that. But really a fight I really don't want to put my money on here. All right, very looking forward to this one. We have Manel Kape versus Matheus Nicolau, the return of Nicolau, somebody that fought in the UFC before making his return after getting cut off of a 3-1 start. And he was looking very good in a lot of those fights. But Manel Kape came into the UFC against Pantoja and did not look all that great. But Kape is 27 years old, 5'5", 68-inch reach, 15-5. And 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Matheus Nicolau, he is 28 years old, 5'6", 66-inch reach, 15-1, and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds here. And Manel Kape is a decent favorite here. He opened up at minus 115, currently minus 135, so a little bit of a favorite. Matheus Nicolau opened up minus 115, currently plus 115. And yeah, this is a very close fight to me. Matheus Nicolau, somebody that, like I said, was looking very good in the UFC. Beat John Moraga, he beat Louis Smolka, and then he got beat by Dustin Ortiz, got knocked out, got cut after that, but now he is back in the UFC against Manel Kape, and, Kape is somebody that absolutely dropped the ball. I mean, this was a guy that had, high expectations in his first fight, and I actually bet against him. I had bet on Pantoja in that fight based off the fact that I thought Pantoja was going to get this fight down to the mat, use his wrestling, use his grappling, use that the BJJ black belt against Kape, and I've seen Kape taken down before, held down. I thought Pantoja would really implement that game plan, but he didn't need to. He didn't need to because Kape did, more dancing than striking in that fight. I mean, he didn't do anything in that fight. He landed, I forget the number, but it was very low, and Pantoja was able to easily outvolume him. And I don't know what it was. Was it octagon jitters, his UFC debut there or something? But he just did not look great to me. And as far as Matheus Nicolau, he's going to be coming out here. He's going to throw more volume. He's going to look for takedowns. He has a very, very good ground game. And I don't know. I'm going to actually take the dog here in Matheus Nicolau. A lot of people might have forgot about him because we haven't seen him in a few years. But, this guy, when he was in the UFC, he was legit. And I'm assuming he's going to be, making improvements. I mean, the guy's only 28 years old. And Kape, for him to win here, he's going to need a knockout, which, is it possible? Definitely. It's definitely possible for Kape to come out here and get a knockout. because I do think Nicolau is a little bit on the chinny side. He has been knocked out in both of his losses, but Nicolau has some power himself. I've seen him drop guys and very good wrestling. I've seen him take guys down, and once he gets on the mat, very good ground game. So if he can get down Kopp, I do think he's going to have a lot of success, because I have seen Kopp taken down and controlled, and I've seen him submitted before as well. So I'm actually going to take a shot on the dog here. Would he be surprised if Kopp knocked him out? Not really, but I think this is a very winnable fight for Matheus Nicolau. So I'm going to take Nicolau to win by decision, just by doing more on the feet, mixing in the takedowns, getting some top control, and hopefully not getting knocked out. So give me Matheus Nicolau for the win here in what should be a very exciting fight, I hope. I mean, I thought Pantoja Kopp was going to be exciting, but Kopp just did not do anything. So curious to see what happens in Kopp's next fight here. He really needs to make some massive adjustments, because last fight was not a great look at all. So I'm going to take Nicolau by decision. All right, next we have Jonathan Martinez versus Davey Grant. We have Jonathan Martinez going to be the younger guy by 9 years, 26 years old, 5'8", 69.5-inch reach, 13-3, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Davey Grant, he is 35 years old, 5'8", 69-inch reach, 10-4, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Taking a look at the odds here, Jonathan Martinez is one of the biggest favorites on the card. He opened up as a -285, currently -320, and money's still coming in on him. Grant opened up -225, currently David Grant opened up +225, currently +260. And yeah, I mean, it's a pretty simple fight for me to break down here. Martinez is going to be the better striker by a decent margin. He's somebody that's training out of a very good camp. And I do think that he's going to be landing the better shots, probably the harder shots as well. He's a very good knee that he's knocked a couple guys out with. And, Davey Grant's a very interesting fighter, because he's somebody that he's been submitted 4 times in all 4 of his losses. He's never lost by decision. He's never lost by knockout. He's been submitted in all 4 of his losses, which is very, very interesting there. Can Martinez submit Davey Grant? Maybe. I mean, watching tape on Martinez, he can be taken down, but his ground game looks pretty solid. I kind of, thought there might be a path to victory for Grant to get takedowns, but Grant, not much of a takedown guy. He goes after a couple of them. I really think he should wrestle a little bit more, but in his last fight against Martin Day, the dude, I think maybe attempted maybe 1 takedown, but I don't think he landed a takedown in that Day fight. But luckily, he was able to knock out Martin Day, which is somebody that should not be in the UFC. Maybe even got cut already. I think the guy went like 0-4 in the UFC, but just a big striking advantage for Martinez here. Davey Grant needs to come out here and get takedowns, but even then, I think that Martinez could be live for a sub. I mean, Davey Grant leaves a lot of openings on the mat, so I'm gonna actually take Martinez to win. I don't know whether it's going to be decision or submission. I mean, Martinez is a knockout guy, but Grant has a very good chin. I'm going to say decision for Martinez. I'm going to say Grant comes out here, tries to outstrike Martinez, maybe mixes in the takedowns, but Martinez has a very good get-up game. He's very good at getting reversals and sweeps, and does threaten with submissions as well. So I'm not too worried about the ground game of Davey Grant, but that is his most likely path to victory. But I'm going to take Martinez to win by decision. Pretty clear 30-27 decision for Jonathan Martinez. Should be a fun fight, though. All right. This could be one of the best fights on the night. Dan Ige versus Gavin Tucker. In a fight I'm really struggling with to pick a winner, because I like both these guys. I think both these guys are fantastic. But let's break it down here. So Dan Ige is 29 years old. He's going to be the younger fighter by 5 years, which really surprised me when I saw that. Because, Dan Ige has, more fights. He's been in the UFC for longer as well. So kind of surprised me to see that Dan Ige is only 29 years old, and he has been the much more active fighter as well. So he is 5'7", 71-inch reach, going to have a 5-inch reach advantage, 14-3 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Gavin Tucker, 34 years old, 5'6", 61-inch reach, or 66-inch reach, 13-1 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Taking a look at the odds here, Dan Ige opened at -165. Kind of jumped up a little bit, got all the way down to -120, currently at -155. Gavin Tucker opened up +135, currently sitting at +135 as well. So, yeah, like I said, tough fight. I'm just so impressed with Gavin Tucker, and people are always going to bring up, including me, I'm going to bring this up as well, but, till the day that, Tucker's not fighting anymore, people are always going to bring up the fact that, Gavin Tucker took an absolute beating against one Rick Glenn, and that's just the only blemish on his record. I mean, that's his only loss against Rick Glenn. But, after that fight, he did take a very long layoff, a 2-year layoff. Went back and fought Sungwoo Choi in 2019, got the win, beat Justin James, beat Billy Quarantillo in just such impressive fashion. And I really like what this guy brings to the table. So I think it's a big mistake looking into that Rick Glenn fight, because he's just a completely different fighter than he was in that fight. And, he was looking decent in that Rick Glenn fight up until Glenn hurt him. After that, it just went, downhill from there. But I don't want to look into that fight too much for, fights for Gavin Tucker's future, because he's looked fantastic. Against Billy Quarantillo, I couldn't believe it. I mean, he took Billy Quarantillo down like 8 times. His striking looked fantastic. That was probably the best Gavin Tucker we've ever seen against Justin James. Yes, he got hurt, but he was able to battle through that, ended up finishing Justin James in that fight as well. And, he's been looking good. He's been looking good ever since that 2-year layoff from that Rick Glenn fight. So as far as Dan Ige goes, just fought a 5-round fight with Calvin Kattar. Lost in that fight. I think maybe he squeaked out a round, but other than that, Calvin Kattar was able to box him up for 5 rounds there. In that fight, he actually closed as a pretty sizable underdog, closed around like plus 230 in that fight. Prior to that, he beat Edson Barboza in a fight that a lot of people thought Barboza won, and I think I had a bet on Dan Ige, and I really thought Barboza won that fight. But the thing is, Ige's been fighting the better level of competition, but sometimes it doesn't always matter. I'm going to take a shot on Gavin Tucker here. I'm not going to bet it as of now unless the line gets too crazy, but I like Tucker in this fight just because, Dan Ige can be taken down. He does have a 59% takedown defense. He can be stuck on his back for periods of time, and, Tucker showed some extremely good wrestling in his last fight, a BJJ black belt himself, and, I think the striking is pretty close. I mean, Tucker's going to throw a lot of volume. He does land 4.4 significant strikes per minute, and Ige's probably the more dangerous fighter, especially on the feet. But I'm going to say Tucker wins a very close decision. I don't necessarily see why, Ige should be this big of a favorite. I would probably line this closer towards a pick'em, honestly, but I get it. Ige has fought the better level of competition by a decent margin, but, Tucker, 34 years old, I do think he's in his prime right now. This is the best Gavin Tucker we're seeing. So if he's going to, make a run here, now is the time to do it, and this is a very winnable fight for him, I think. So I'm going to take Gavin Tucker to win by decision. But ultimately, I think this is going to be a very, very close fight. I do think it goes to decision. I really can go either way, but I'm going to side with the underdog here in Gavin Tucker to get it done by decision there. So very good fight there. All right, next we have the co-main event. And like I said earlier in the video, it should be as fun for as long as it lasts, and I don't really see it lasting too long. But we have Misha Cirkunov versus Ryan Spann. And in this fight, we have Cirkunov, who is 34 years old, 6'3", 77-inch reach, 15-5, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Ryan Spann, 29 years old, 6'5", 81.5-inch reach, 18-6, and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Take a look at the odds. Cirkunov opened up as a minus 150 favorite, currently minus 135. Spann opened up plus 120, currently plus 115. So, yeah, some money's coming in on Spann a little bit. I guess I could see why. I really don't want to bet either side here. If anything, I think a really good play is probably the under 1.5, or even fight doesn't go to decision, is maybe a parlay piece. Because I don't see this, seeing the scorecards whatsoever. Cirkunov's going to come out there looking for a takedown and looking for it very early. And, although Ryan Spann does have a pretty decent grappling game, it's just, Cirkunov's probably on a whole other level than a Ryan Spann. And I do think that if he does get down Ryan Spann, the fight will probably be over shortly after. It's just what happens if, Spann's able to clip him early before he gets that takedown, or what happens if Spann's able to maybe stuff the takedown. But, Spann, not many guys try to take this guy down. I mean, but when guys do try to take him down, he gets taken down pretty easily. 60% takedown defense from Spann, and Cirkunov actually a very good wrestler, very strong, averaging 4.42 takedowns per 15 minutes with a 57% takedown accuracy. I really think he'll have no problem getting Spann down to the mat. It's just, if he does not shoot a takedown, he very well could get clipped against Ryan Spann, who, not the best striker in the world. I'm not overly high on this guy. I think he's extremely low volume. He does have some power, but I think his power might be a little bit overrated, honestly. And I just see Cirkunov coming out here like he did in his last fight, going out there and getting a early takedown, really not messing around on the feet. Against Jimmy Crute, it took him, I want to say like 20 seconds, if that, to go out there and get a takedown. I think that's what he needs to do here. And after that, I just see him probably submitting Ryan Spann. So I think in his last 6 or 7 fights, Cirkunov has not seen the second round. He's been getting it done early in his fights, or getting finished early in his fights as well. And I kind of see it the same way here. It's really hard to see this fight, first of all, hitting the scorecards or even hitting the second round, honestly. So But I do like Cirkunov here. I do think he'll have no problem getting Spann down to the mat. I kind of want to see the weigh-ins because, Cirkunov has been battling some injuries. So I do want to see the weigh-ins and seeing how Cirkunov looks. But I was thinking maybe a straight bet on Cirkunov if the line closed a little bit, but the line seems to be getting wider again. So I think the best look for this fight is probably the under 1.5. I haven't pulled the trigger on it yet, but I'm looking hard at that. But I'm going to take Cirkunov to win by first round submission here in what should be a very, very fun fight for as long as it lasts. All right, so the main event here, before I get into it, I do want to remind you guys to tune into the live stream at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time on Friday. Going to be covering the weigh-ins, bets, DraftKings, final thoughts, and just chat it up with you guys on Friday, 7 o'clock, as always. So, yep, main event. Leon Edwards, the return of Leon Edwards. The guy has not fought in a long time. 1 year and 7 months ago when he fought Rafael dos Anjos, I do remember that fight because I was actually on a cruise for that fight. Was not able to watch it, but went back and watched it. And he put on a really good performance again against RDA. He was able to go out there and actually get takedowns on RDA and just piece him up throughout the fight as well. And Belal Muhammad's somebody that's been on an absolute roll as of late. And I'm just really I'm really excited for this fight. We're definitely going to see where Belal Muhammad is at in his career. He's taken a really big step up in competition. Going from fighting guys like Diego Lima to Leon Edwards here, who is a legit contender. So Leon Edwards is 29 years old, 6'2", 74-inch reach, 18-3, 5-0 in his last 5 fights. I want to say he's on like a 7 or 8. Excuse my voice cracked. 7 or 8 fight win streak. Belal Muhammad, 32 years old, 5'7", 71-inch reach, 18-3, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. And yeah, taking a look at the odds here, Leon Edwards minus 260, opened up minus 245. Belal Muhammad opened up plus 185, currently plus 220. So, as expected, money coming in on Leon Edwards. A lot of people really like this guy. Is the line too wide? Probably, but, this is a fight he really should win. But it's really hard to deny how good Belal Muhammad has been looking. It's just the level of competition for me, fighting guys like Diego Lima, Lyman Good, decent win there. Takashi Sato, Curtis Millender. He lost to Jeff Neal, but he's been looking good. But it's just, with Leon Edwards, he brings something to the table that, his past opponents cannot. I mean, this guy is somebody that, not the most volume in the world. He does only land about 2.5 significant strikes per minute. Does have a 47% accuracy, but he does only absorb 2.05 significant strikes with a 55% striking defense. So Leon Edwards is extremely hard to hit. Belal Muhammad's going to be throwing the more volume, but I think it's just going to be leaving him susceptible to, getting hit. I mean, the guy has a 43% accuracy in Muhammad. He does absorb 4.03 significant strikes per minute. So Muhammad is a little bit on the hittable side. He's a little bit on the chinny side as well. I mean, he's been knocked out once, but he's been dropped 6 times in the UFC, which is a crazy amount. So I don't necessarily think Edwards has, crazy power, but I would be shocked if Edwards did drop him in this fight, maybe once or twice. But as far as this goes, I guess the thing I'd worry about, and this is why I kind of, gave Muhammad a little bit more of a shot before I got into the tape, was Muhammad getting takedowns. Muhammad does land about 2 takedowns per 50 minutes, 28% takedown accuracy, but watching the tape on Edwards, he can be taken down, but he's very, very hard to take down, and he's very, very hard to hold down. His get-up game is phenomenal, and I think if Muhammad tries to get takedowns, it's only going to tire him out because Edwards is probably going to stand right back up. And just a very good ground game, underrated ground game of Edwards as well, and just on the feet, it's going to be Edwards all day for me. I mean, I think it's going to be somewhat close, but I mean, he's just so hard to hit, and he's going to present a style that, Muhammad's not really been used to. I mean, it's a big difference going from, Diego Lima, somebody that's, not that great of a fighter, to Leon Edwards. But I guess what I'm interested to see is, is there a little bit of cage rust for Leon Edwards? I mean, we haven't seen this guy in almost 2 years, but if he comes back like the Leon Edwards we know, I do think this is a very winnable matchup for him. Is the line a little bit wide? Maybe it is. But I do think he's going to win probably by decision, maybe a late stoppage. But Muhammad is very durable. I mean, he's been dropped 6 times, but the guy is durable. So I'm going to take Leon Edwards to win by decision. It should be a fun fight, but I do expect Leon Edwards to continue the win streak he has going on. And yeah, that's about it. So I just want to quickly go through my picks. I have Leon Edwards, Misha Cirkunov, Gavin Tucker, Jonathan Martinez, Mateus Nicolau, Darren Stewart, Angela Hill, Charles Jourdain, Ronnie Yahya, Nasrat Haqparast, JJ Aldrich, and Gloria DePaulo, and then Jason Witt. So 3 dogs picking this week, probably 2 once the fight starts. I think Jason Witt will probably close the favorite, but yeah, should be a good week here. I do have a couple bets already, looking at adding a couple more. We'll talk about all those on the betting breakdown, which is Saturday, and then on the live stream, which is Friday as well. So thank you guys for all hanging out. If you guys can please leave a like, subscribe if you have not yet, would really appreciate that a ton. And good luck for UFC Vegas 21. It should be a very fun card.